Hi, Mr. Haywire. Thank you so much for joining the call. When I got your email the other day, I was like, look at this same man that I had a conversation with a few weeks ago with, tired of the whole applications journey, frustrated with loads of rejections, and you sharing that you just got two different data analyst job offer. I just had to jump on this call with you to just kind of hear your thoughts on how you're able to, build those technical skills, your journey towards the whole application process, getting two different offers. It's a big deal, trust me, with the way the job market is at the moment. And yeah, just want to kind of hear your thoughts. So my first question would be, trying to get into data analytics, what were the things that you tried to build competency on? Most people get to ask, what are the skills I need to get into data analytics? So for you now, what are the skills that you're able to build competency on? I remember when we did the training many, many months ago, and with little knowledge of data to getting to build that competence, what were the tools that you think anyone who's trying to get into data analytics must build competency on based on your experience going for interviews and landing job roles?
Yeah, I would say Excel and Power BI. I know during the training we did SQL was part of it, but I think it depends from organizations, so from one organization to another. But basically, I would say the three software to learn from will be Excel, SQL, and Power BI. But from one of the applications that I did, they
Mm-hmm.
were either Excel and Power BI. So I leveraged on that. So of course the training was really helpful. So I had to do a lot of practices to tell you because at first I wasn't that more technical on Excel, but of course TechDrive training was and with the help was really helpful. So Excel and Power BI I would say are one of the most important software applications that one must be proficient in if one wants to get into data analysis, especially, of course, I only know about the UK, so I don't
Yeah.
know. But I feel that basically, maybe around the world, that's basically the softwares are.
Seems to like
I know
popular.
there are some new ones coming up now, but
Yeah.
the ones that one will need to have at least a good foundation on should be Excel and Power BI, and of course SQL.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we had like few conversations when the training ended, and the conversation was majorly around job applications. Because anyone that goes on the training, the goal is not just to learn data. The goal is to learn data and obviously, use that knowledge to
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so I know we had lots of conversations, on the struggle to landing interviews. Even when you started landing interviews, the challenge that came, with passing those interviews, and of course, obviously, you just got yourself two different job roles. And what would you say your experience was when it comes to job applications? What were the things you think you did wrong when you started the journey of applying for roles, and what you did differently along the line?
Yeah, thank you. Basically, at first, I was getting a lot of rejection, especially, and it can be so tiring and disheartening when you're putting your applications out there.
Yeah.
So, the one thing I was doing initially was I was just applying. I was not tailoring my applications with each of the job
Mm,
descriptions and basically to know the exact software that we were using and to use real life examples of how I've used those softwares in my application. So those are some of the things I was doing wrong. So over, I would say in the space of about 2 3 months when I was getting it, I just had to sit down and look at myself. Like, hey, why, what are you doing wrong? What are you doing on these applications? And and of course there was a friend of mine that not data analyst per se, but he got a role
yeah.
in another tech industry.
Yeah.
But and I asked him that how did he do his application? You get what I mean? So I tapped into the way he structured his own application, and I felt like okay, if I use the same method, it
Hmm.
will really help. So basically, most job description will really have responsibility and essential criteria. So
Yeah.
and the most important thing is supposed to read the job description to
Yeah.
understand what is the job vacancy looking out for, like
Yeah.
what you must have if you want to be invited for an interview. So that was the first key point to understand what are they even exactly looking out for you if your application is to come through into the ATS and the like. So which is the most important thing is the essential criteria, the keywords. So one of those things is to tailor my applications to the essential keywords used in the job description. So
Yeah.
that way, I know that whatever system they are using, I'll get through into the interview stage and then prove
Yeah.
myself at the interview so that okay, I know what I'm doing. Another thing is because it depends from jobs to jobs.
Yeah.
some job description will ask you that in their job application, maybe give an example of how you use a particular software in your current industry or maybe your previous experience. So it's about now bringing. It doesn't matter the kind of industry you're coming from. Data
Yeah.
analysis can always apply to whichever industry you want
Yeah.
to you're applying for. So it's just about giving out a scenario of what has happened, how you use that software, and the result. Of course, the STAR method is always very important. And one of those things that I would say, of course, really helped me was to effectively structure it. So sometimes what I do is um, it depends on the type of essential criteria. Sometimes a job can have about 4 or 5 essential criteria. So when I'm writing my either my what's it called, my personal statement,
Yeah.
for example,
Mhm.
I always ensure that I have the heading of each of the essential criteria, and then I'll write
Yeah.
the star method on
Nice.
it. That
Mhm.
way, if the I don't know if that's the way the ATS works, but because you already have that keywords in it, it it makes your application go through successful. Of course, it's still a game of number, but
Yeah.
over time, I realized that
It works.
that method, when I stuck with it, I was just getting loads of interviews. I was coming. So, and I stuck with it, and yeah, we are today.
That makes sense. Honestly, that strategy, I've heard about three other students that talked about using that same approach to getting, themselves data analyst job.
Mm-hmm.
When they just, what they do is they list all of the different essential criteria for that role and then put in points. I mean, real life example of how they meet that requirement.
Exactly. So
I
that's
think,
one of the things I did.
yeah, definitely an approach that one should harness. Now, my other question would be, in terms of interview, because I've had so many people who have gone past this whole application stage, they got to interview stage, but many people are still struggling to land in the job in itself. And I'm sure you also had your own share of interviews and not been successful. Now, what would probably be like, I don't want to use the word advice, but I'll say, what were the things that you think one needs to put into place when it comes to technical? I mean, not just technical assessments alone, even the competency-based part of the interview. What are your kind of your should I say your strategy that you have approached that helped you landed those roles?
Yeah, my strategy was apply for jobs.
Yeah.
If after following some of the things I've mentioned about how to structure your application and then you're invited for interview, the first thing, let me say the first thing was because I attended interviews at first. The first stage was not getting interview. It's a question, okay, you're not getting interview and you're being shanked. But the more interviews I went, the more confident I was.
You
The more
get
I
better.
was
Yeah,
learning, okay, what did I do bad
you get
at this
better.
interview? And okay, go and sharpen yourself. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's not like I remember the first interview I had, it was on Excel.
Okay.
I know what they said I should do. No, it was VLOOKUP. And the funniest was that I practiced VLOOKUP, VLOOKUP 24 hours for that day. And then my brain just went blank. I wrote equals to VLOOKUP and I was like, "Ah, which one
What's
is
the next
it was but so I was like, okay, anyway, you have to go back to the drawing board.
yeah.
But the more interviews one gets, the more confident you are, the
Yeah.
more aside from because after you do presentation or maybe after you have been given a task, there are still some questions you still be asked.
The
So all
competency.
those things culminate into having a successful interview between what you do and what another candidate might do. So the more interviews one have, I will encourage people to put our application out. The
Yeah.
more interviews you have, the more exposed you
Okay.
know about what you are doing wrong at interviews, how you can improve your confidence in front of panelists, and that way you'll be able to speak confidently because they are also humans like us. So
Mhm.
they only want people that will come and solve their problem in their company, and people that are
Yeah.
confident on what they are saying. Even if you don't, you have you're not that perfect at all at it, but they still want to see at least you have that proficiency in it. And of course, on the job, you can always build on it as long as one continue to improve oneself. So my approach will just be keep applying for that roles. When it comes to interviews, even if the first interview you go to, you don't get it, make it as a learning curve. Like, okay, what did I do wrongly? What can I improve? And that will really help in the long. At some point, when I was getting rid of interviews, there were some that I was even canceling to be sincere. That is my
Mhm.
heart. There were some that it will even be on the day I want to do interview. I will just go and look at the job description and say, okay, what are you looking out for today? And then prepare something or depending on the task that they give me. So
Yeah.
I just feel it's just to give oneself that patience of okay,
Yeah.
you're going to fail, but it's not as if you're a failure. It's just
So,
like a baby step at some point. The baby, it will be shocking if the baby take a step the day they give birth to the baby now. So it's
yeah,
just to be patient, yeah, and of course with tenacity, with patience on oneself, and of course learning from what you're feeling hard
exactly, exactly,
upon this process, and
exactly.
phone was of course scaled through the interview.
Yeah, you mentioned something about confidence, and I think that's one of the things most people kind of struggle with because many of us, I mean, we're transitioning into data, so
Yeah.
we have that fear of, am I good enough? Can I actually respond to these questions properly? I've had
Mm-hmm.
students who have gone for interviews, and I know them personally. I know they are very good, but they can't communicate that skills they have, which is
Mm-hmm.
a major challenge most people actually are facing.
Mm.
So, like you said, going for those interviews multiple times, I mean, you just get better. I mean, you can't do same thing.
You just get better. And another thing I'll just add is
Yeah.
because you are coming from a particular role, you can always tailor your data analysis experience what you have done in the past. It's just for you to sit down and look at okay, you've done this. How does data analysis come to place? If
Much,
maybe in your
yes.
previous role, sometimes we even do a bit of data analysis in our past role, but the only thing is just that we don't use software. We might
Exactly.
even do it in the manual way here, but you've learned data analysis, you've known how the fast way of producing data or automating data to make it fast. So it's just about sitting down and thinking of okay, what scenario can I use? And if you know the industry you're coming from very well, it will be hard to create a scenario around that. Okay, this is how you are able to use Excel. These are the Excel functions that you used in that role, and then this was the result that came out. If it was Power BI that you used, okay, so all you did and be able to get the result. So it's about creating a scenario from the industry
Yeah.
you're coming
Mhm.
from, and it to help you to be able to speak confidently at interview. So my advice is don't think about it too much. Just look at what have you done in your past role. How does it
How does
come
data relate into
how
it?
can you apply it to
Exactly.
the hair? And then you make it a form of conversation. Another
Mm.
thing is, I also advise people is when you're at interviews and you create a scenario of what you have done, it's also important to also mention how you are going to use those skill sets you've learned in your past
Mm.
uh, in that role because
Mm. Mm.
people can always bring transferable skills to any other role, but they also want to say, okay, you've done this in your past. Okay, how are you going to help us when you of course jump on this role? So it's another added advantage when you talk about okay, these are areas in which they're going to help the company to excel when you come on board. So it's always something that panelists always laugh at the hair in their mind. Like, oh, this guy is speaking our mind. Take it. So,
Yeah, exactly.
it's an incentive to always add when someone is in interviews and when it comes to another thing is when you're asked to introduce yourself, don't mention much about your name. Just talk about
Just go to-
just to the point
just
that
go
hey, like okay, yeah, not so people like oh who you are, you have worked in the industry, blah blah blah. Okay, this is
to-
how you're able to use analysis to help businesses analyze. They always want to hear that. Sometimes they may even ask those questions just to help you set into the interview.
Mhm.
Because sometimes there are interviews that they will ask you for your strengths, and they want to know how I don't do interview. They go ask you, they go ask you your strength. They want to see how you first answer the first question about tell us about why you apply for this role. Don't
Mhm.
what they want to know is what is the energy you use to answer that. And when they're
Mm.
not asking you maybe a question like do you love using data to solve questions? So they want to see the energy you use to answer that and the energy you use to answer that strength question to say, okay, is this your strength? Is this something that when everything is going tough in the department, so yeah, provide the data for us ahead. Will you so there's always some of the things that have to keep in mind. So sometimes it might be when they ask you some strength based questions, how you answer them. If you don't answer it with good energy, it
Yeah.
might be sending a wrong message to them
Absolutely.
that this guy is not the right guy for us.
Yeah.
So so even if it might not be something that you are good at the moment, portray that you have a strength in that. Yeah,
Mhm.
just go in an interview with a good mindset, with that energetic mindset that you really want this role.
Yeah.
That can be a slight difference between somebody who does that and that person who doesn't do that at interviews.
Yes, makes sense. I mean, this is August 2025, and like I said to you before we jump on this call that you're the third person in this month of August 2025 that got in two offers at the same time, and I tell people for a fact that those two offers didn't come from three applications. They came from numerous numerous
It's a game of number. It's a game of number. It's a
yeah, it's
game
a
of
game
number.
of number,
Number.
yeah. So, but yeah, it's quite exciting to know that, after all of the whole struggle of filling interviews, filling application stage,
Yeah.
getting those two roles, it's really super exciting to get to know about that. Now, this is going to be my last question, and it's going to be majorly around the training with TechDrive. Do you think that the training kind of help in any way in terms of the whole application process, you going for interviews, the knowledge passed during the training? Do you think it was helpful in any way? And of course, if you're going to recommend anyone to go into data analytics, would you recommend TechDrive, basically? So just hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I would recommend TechDrive for anyone. Basically, you have been taught what to expect in the role.
Yeah.
It's not just gibberish or what you don't need. It's what you need at the job that you'll be taught. What
Mm,
you have to expect. Some of the tasks that can be presented to give at your job. So it's just like yeah, in the job already. That's the way the training TechDrive is like. So I would encourage people to harness that.
mhm.
Apart from that, when you're done with the training, TechDrive will support you with how to polish your CV. So which is at least it gives you an overview of okay, when your CV is structured. Okay, oh, this is how your CV structures coming
Yeah.
from the background they are coming from. And some of this I mentioned earlier in the conversation to help you to know okay what kind of scenario you can present to showcase yourself
Yeah.
when you begin to start applying for various job applications.
Yeah.
And of course, when the going gets tough, there are days it's like that. Just
Definitely.
contact the guys. What am I doing wrong this time? And then I think that always come to your aid. And it can be just a little thing.
Just
It can be just even an encouragement. Oh, don't give up. It's only 1 year that you need. So that's where take that comes in. So I would encourage people to harness it
mm,
and it beats your confidence. And the more one practices, because there are a lot of tasks that I think that will give you during the training. So once one gets a hands on it, and of course, the purpose of learning is to practice. So without practice, those things will not stick. It's not
yeah.
one that be using, but once somebody practices a lot, it sticks. And so I would say people should harness take drive to
Thank you.
factor into the analysis and there's
Thank
money in this analysis. So
I like that part.
there's money. And there are a lot of pathways too. Aside from it can give one. For me, I've already seen other things I want to do within the data space. So it's a starting point. It's a starting point to move up the ladder in other data fields.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just getting that first job. You meant to get that first job. I mean, personally, I've gotten like two different promotions in the last 3 years. Going up the rank. So it's always getting that first job. Then after that first job, I mean, the sky
Mm-hmm.
is your starting point. So yeah, so I guess I mean I can officially say that you and I were now colleagues in this data world. I'm no longer your tech drive instructor anymore. You be my colleague now. So anything you feel you be my Oga self. Yeah,
I
yeah.
love you. I'm still a boy now, still learning.
But yeah, so super, super exciting to see, how
Yeah.
far, the journey has been. And yeah, just look forward to, what the future holds. I mean, like I used to tell every of the student who had gotten a job that the conversation doesn't end, after the job has been, I mean, tomorrow, I could be a line manager, I could be my line manager. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
relationship kind
Mm-hmm.
of move beyond just, getting your first job and all of that. So yeah, thanks so much for jumping on the call. And I'll leave you to the confusion of which of the job offer to accept. So you you gotta face that decision. But yeah, thanks so much for jumping on this call. I really, really do
Thank you
appreciate
so much, Sadan. As I always call you,
it. Thanks
I
so
know
much.
there are days I be like, this man's email. That is like, what do I want to tell this man again? He's already did what I'm already telling him now.
Honestly, I mean, I remember we had lots of calls, the whole frustration, which I kind of understand. I mean, I have
Mm-hmm.
so many people that, I'm currently mentoring that are going through the same issue. And that's why I wanted us to jump on this call, just kind of
Mm-hmm.
encourage them that, see, this is my my guy, yeah, the job didn't come after 3 months.
Mm-hmm,
Job came
mm-hmm,
after months of applications, and rejections and all. Just kind
mm-hmm.
of encourage people out there that yeah, it will get better. I mean, look at you now. The first offer you get were 2 offers, not even one, two at the same time. So yeah, it's just to keep pushing application and keep showing up. And that's one of the way I get to know students who are actually pushing applications. You're one of the few people that will keep sending email. Oh God, don't apply. They'll send me rejection again. I'm like, Mr. Iwa is back again. Killer football me by. So because even though you get that feeling that what's this person asking again, I'm always excited
Yeah,
because it shows that you're showing up, which
yeah.
is the most important thing. You're showing up, and
Mm-hmm.
look at the results of the whole showing up now. I mean, it's really, really a positive one. Yeah. So yeah, thanks so much for job. I said 10 minutes, but we've used 20 minutes. But anyway, thanks so
All right.
much for the call. So